Namaste, Mahodaya.
Namaste, namaste.
Namaste, namaste.
Aham na agatavati.
Namaste.
Namaskara.
Namaskaram, Jagadesha.
Namaskara.
So, how long this course is going to be?
No, it's last time when I took it, it needed about 150 classes.
Oh, okay, good.
And so that took about 150, maybe 160 weeks because of the holidays, and we were having only one class a week. This time around,
That's, yeah, at least we will get enough time to go deeper.
Yeah.
How much are you able to cover?
The plan is to cover all three of Medhaji's books. Full details of the book. And even if I might may not go into a lot of details in book 1, but book 2 and 3 go verbatim in the book.
I see. Therefore, are we covering the Panini Sutram also?
No, Panini Sutram, as far as it is mentioned in the book, we will. And even when, if it is not mentioned in the book, for example, you have attended the classes for the 5-week course, and in the Ach Sandhi and Hal Sandhi, we discussed about the sutras also. So we will give an introduction, and this is not a class, it's a pretty basic level class. And the idea is to introduce the students to the basics of Saṁskṛta and also create some interest in Paninian grammar. And people who get Arsha Vidya weekly emails might have gotten an email last week. Kalpesh is starting a class on
December 3rd.
December 3rd. Yeah.
I saw that, but I wanted to go in, but I was unable to get into that to register. I just wanted to see what is going on.
Okay. Lagu Siddhanta Kaumudi, and its prerequisite is something little higher than this. So once you finish this class, then you will be eligible to take that class.
Are we going to? Are you going to take any this Gana 10 Ganas?
Yeah, we will make mention of that because that is covered in volume.
Achha.
Okay, because it's part of the Kriyapadas or tiṅanatas. So we will mention that, and we will go to some detail as much as covered in the book and maybe a little more. Sometimes I provide a little more information beyond the book. And you know, the Kriyapadas, all these ganas and things, all the derivation of the verb forms.
Yeah.
It's a lot more involved. So that the class Kalpeshji is taking is kind of an introduction to Paninian grammar. Whereas what we are doing is a general grammar with a little couple of steps into Paninian grammar.
Okay.
So once you take these things, then this class, then if you go to that class, then you won't be totally fish out of water. Otherwise, maybe, depending on which level he starts at.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, what is the time? Our 2 minutes are up. So let's start with the prayers. Let me share the screen. Okay, let's start with the prayers. Om Agajanana Padmarkam Gajanana Maharnisham Anekadam Tam Bhaktanam Ekadantam Upasma Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, so Can you hear me all right? One of you can answer?
Yes.
Yes, Srishti.
Okay. Is my video on or no?
Yes,
On.
video is on.
Okay. And my camera is a little to the side, so you won't see me frontal view. The frontal view may be helpful when we deal with the pronunciations. And I'm going to get a small camera so that I can put it right underneath my bigger monitor. Maybe I might get it for the next week. It's not in today yet. Okay, so I think we have covered this this slide about the Vyanjanas, slide number 10. And I think we have enough time at the end of the class. Any questions? So I think I can go to the next slide. Anyway, are there any questions about the swaras and vyanjanas, the last two slides?
Is there a, my name is Ram, is
Yeah.
there a definition of what swara is, the actual, what is considered a swara?
Okay. Yeah, there are definitions, multiple definitions, but a basic or practical definition is swaras are those varnas or sounds which can be pronounced independently, whereas vyanjanas are those things, those varnas which cannot be pronounced independently without the help of a swara before or after. If you Google, there will be multiple definitions of swaras. And let me see, I didn't put one up. And maybe there may be a definition I put in the, when we come to the textbook. I remember putting a text box there, defining in Sanskrit what a swara is.
Somebody has texted Swayam Rajite iti swaraha.
Yes, that is the etymological definition.
Somebody has
Rajate,
put in
that
the
means
chat. Yeah.
it shines by itself, means it is available to your listening by itself. Okay, this rat is like the Vedantic definition. Shines means it appears to your senses. Here the listening by themselves, where Vyanjanas do not have that independence. Yeah, we will have this definition in when we come to the textbook. When we come to the text, some of the things I might skip over because we spent enough time on this. But some of the details we will talk a little more. I'm looking at the old book, and it doesn't give any definition in the textbook. So that may be a reason why I put a text box. I remember putting a text box in there, defining swara and vyanjana. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Now, this is a very, very important slide from grammar and Panini Sutra point of view, because this slide, which is called Maheshwara-Sutrani, it is Maheshwara-Sutrani. Maheshwarat Agatani Sutrani. There is a story saying that Panini got this sutras straight from Shiva, Maheshwara, as Dakshinamurti. So that's why the name Maheshwara. It is not Maheshwara Sutra, it is Maheshwara Sutrani, because it came from the Maheshwara. So this, if you see this, there are a couple of things. This has very clearly understood, some of the basic things, because these are the building blocks for Paninian grammar. Basic definition. Of course, everything starts with the aksharas, and Maheshwara Sutras are actually a more rational and practical rearrangement of the same alphabets or same the aksharas are available, but Panini rearranged them in grammatically more practical ways. The exactly same aksharas, those were available at his time, like Vedic and some of the practical Saṁskṛta literature available at that time. Nothing new in that. Only thing new you will find here are the letters in the vowels, and that vowels have a reason, and we will talk about those briefly. And then as we get into the topic of sandhi in the volume 2 book, especially when we get into the swara and vyanjana sandhi, then you will see the importance of understanding this one slide. And in all my classes, I tell all the students that it is suggested that you make a hard copy of this sheet and put it on your desk, because we refer to that so frequently. Okay, I suggest if somebody have their video.
So can we get this document so that we can print it?
Yeah, you can print it. Okay, another thing, if you go to the Google Drive, everybody has gotten the link to the Google Drive. Then there are subfolders. There is a folder for the textbook. Maybe I might have put just volume 1 and 2 for now, because we are going to start with volume 2. And then we have a folder which contains references. And in the textbook, if you go to volume 2, and if you skim through the pages, in one of the pages, you will find this. Okay. And you can take a printout of that page for reference. So the PDF of the textbook is there in the Google Drive. And because somebody asked for some references for Saṁskṛta dictionaries, there is also one subfolder for other reference materials. For
Recording in progress.
So it is available there, and there is somebody else has his microphone. Everybody, please mute. I am hearing echo. Okay, so in the Google Drive folders, there is one folder giving you 4 or 5 different links for different kinds of dictionaries. There is Saṁskṛta English Dictionary, Saṁskṛta English Saṁskṛta Dictionary, and Saṁskṛta to Saṁskṛta, and a link for Ashtadhyayi, which is like a huge collection of all the grammatic resources in one place. And one of the dictionaries, I think by name Kosha, is a compendium of maybe 24 different dictionaries. So all kinds of information is available in those websites. And in the references, you will find 3 PDFs. One of the PDF is for Dhatu, which is the list of all the 2200 or so verb roots with their certain characteristics listed. That also is authored by Medha Michika. And also a copy of the Ashtadhyayi, which is a list of all the Paninian sutras. We may not need that right now, later on if needed. And also a book of Shabdamanjari. It gives all the vibhakti forms and some other informations. Vibhakti forms of all Pullinga, Strilinga, Namsakalinga, depending on the ending varna of each of the words. So all those 3 PDFs are available in the references. Okay, coming back to this letter. Once you glance through this and pay some attention to the row headers on the left, you will see that this is a lot more rational arrangement of the letters we know. Okay, so it is a more practical rearrangement of letters by Sage Panini compared to the normal ones we by hearted earlier. And that normal method is called matrika patha, like a matrix. Okay, like so we are used to saying a, I, I, U, R, E, I, O, aha, then ka, ka, ga, ga, nga. And if you look at that, ka, ka, ga, ga, nga, which comes right after the vowels in our Matrika Patha, it doesn't come right after. Okay? It comes somewhere near the end. And if you see the characteristics of these letters from the last two slides we talked about, the vowels are all considered soft. Okay. And if you see the go down in here, you see that it is going from vowels and semi-vowels and group consonants and sibilants. Whereas in our Matrika Patha or the normal method, we go vowels, hard and soft consonants mixed up in each column like ka, ka, ga, ga, hard, soft. And then at the end, you will get semi-vowels, which should actually come between consonants and vowels theoretically. So that is what's happening here. Okay, because we are used to ka, ka, ga, ga, nga up to pa, pa, bha, ba, ma, and then ya, ra, la, va, then sha, sa, sa, ha, la. Okay. So the organization is a little different here. So you can see that the reason, so you have vowels first and then semi-vowels. It is reasonable, or it is more understandable why the semi-vowels have to come before the consonants. So after the soft vowels, we get soft consonants, understandable, and then hard consonants in a kind of a increasing order. Whereas in the Patha, there's no such order is seen. Okay. So that is one. And then again, you can see that Alpa Pranas and Maha Pranas have their own rows. Whereas in the case of Matrika Patha, they have their columns when it comes to the group consonants, like ka, cha, ta, ta, pa are Alpa Prana soft. Then ka, cha, ta, ta, pa, you're going down in the regular table. It's not so here. So here you can see that let's go to the what is given in the details. So the first 5 letters. Okay, before that, what are the circled letters? The circled letters are called mark letters. Okay, you can see that they are not full letters in the sense they are halanta letters. They're just the indicators or marker letters. So they're not part of the Aksharamala. So you can see that. Okay, they're there for a purpose. We will talk about the purpose in a little while. So the aksharas are a, I, u, r, r. Just leave out the letters in the vowels or in the circles. Okay, a, I, u, r, r, e, o, I, au, ha, ya, va, ra, la. Then nyama, ngana, jabha, gada, dha, jabha, gada, da, kapha, chata, tha, chata, ta, kapa, sha, sa, sa, and ha. Two things you will, one thing you will notice here is that ha finds place in 2 places. Ha is the same ha is mentioned in 2 places. And if you remember, even in our previous Vyanjana slide, ha had its standalone row and column. It's a different animal. Okay, so Panini had to put it in 2 places so that when we go to the text, you will realize why Panini has put ha in 2 places. To make all the sutras, he had to put it in 2 places. Okay, now what is the purpose of these indicatory letters? Though the indicatory letters are the English equivalent, and this concept was there even before Panini. Okay, so the grammarians before Panini called these circled letters as anubandhas. Okay, so the meaning of anubandha is like something that ties things together. Bandha is tying or joining. So anubandha is tying the things together. Panini gave characteristic of Panini. He wants to save and syllables. So he gave a name as it. So all these letters in the circle, they are called it letters. So you can understand it as indicatory letters, and you will see the usefulness in a few minutes. Okay. For the time being, just understand that n, k, n, ch, t, n, all those things are indicatory letters. So two things to notice is that there is two places where the indicator n, ta, ta, da, da, na appears. Okay. And also ha, the akshara ha appears in two places, and they have their own reasons. So this is kind of a complete table, but still I felt I may have to add a little information about Alpaprana and Mahaprana. So those are the information I added in blue to the right. Okay. Alpaprana is non-aspirated consonants. Mahaprana is aspirated consonants. Okay. And ha is a Mahaprana. That is why in the first blue there is, I mentioned that it is others are Alpaprana except ha. Okay. Whereas because it is Mahaprana, it finds the last row, it comes with Shasasaha because it is a Mahaprana. Okay. And ha is soft consonant, soft Mahaprana. And that is the reason why this box of ha doesn't go all the way to the end, because ha is not a hard consonant. Okay, the purpose of these it letters. Now, it letters in this table, it letters you are used as abbreviation marks. What do we mean by that? Abbreviation mark. Now, suppose there is a couple of Panini Sutras about it letters themselves. So from that, the indicatory letters or the it letters are used for making abbreviations. Okay. So the name for example, Panini wants to make a sutra. Okay, Jayaprakash, have a question? Unmute yourself. You see, Jayaprakash has raised his hand. Can everybody hear me? Somebody unmute and speak, please.
Yes.
We can hear you well.
Okay,
Yes, we
then
can.
there is somebody, Jayaprakash raised hand, so I'm asking him to unmute and ask the question.
I think maybe he
Okay.
Jagdishji, how to raise the hand?
I think there is a reactions pull down option. In that,
Okay.
one of the options is to raise hand. When you have a question hand, then when I pause for the question, then
Okay.
you can
Okay.
unmute
Okay.
yourself, ask the question, then unraise your hand or lower your hand once it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So, how does this it letters work? I said it is used as an abbreviation to make abbreviations. Now, what is meant by abbreviation? Now, suppose Panini wants to make a sutra using all the three of the short vowels like a, e, and u. Suppose he has a sandhi sutra. Just assume that sandhi sutra involves the swara aksharas a, e, and u. Then instead of saying the sutra referring to a, e, u, he will just say an. An means a, e, and u, all the letters up ith letter. Okay, and ith letter is not for part of the Varnamala. Okay, same way. Suppose somebody Panini says uses a abbreviation, say ach. Ach means a, e, u, r, a, o, I, o. Because chu came, so that is where you stop. So chu is like the dot when you make a abbreviation. it says ach, then it involves all the 9 swaras mentioned in the list. Okay, and it doesn't have to start with a. Suppose he says ich, then it means a is excluded. I, ur, all the way up to au is ich. So that way, so these abbreviations have a name. They are called pratyahara. Pratyahara is the abbreviation in Saṁskṛta. So these it letters in the Maheshwara Sutras are used for making pratyaharas or abbreviations. That gives Panini a lot of freedom and makes the sutras very, very concise. Okay, because instead of saying I, ur, all the 9 vowels, he can just say ach, just 1.5 syllables. Means once you know this table, then you know ach means vowels. If somebody says ach sandhi, that means swara sandhi or vowel sandhi. Okay. Same way, suppose you start with ha. Panini says ha or hal. Okay. That means starting in the first ha here all the way to l. So that means what? Excluding the vowels, all other letters. That means all the consonants. Hal means all consonants. Okay. So you can make an abbreviation from starting with any letter ending in one of the ith letters. Okay. And you can't go backwards. It's only top to bottom, left to right. Okay.
I was going to ask that.
Huh?
I was going to ask the same question. Can we go backward?
No, you can't. You can't go backward. Okay. Okay. This is like you are saying A, B, C, dash, 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 Z. So A to Z, you can't go backwards.
So this is Chandu. So when somebody says ach,
yeah.
so that means they are going to mention that the letters are going to be included from here to there.
Yes. Ach means a up to cha, because cha is not a letter. Okay, it's just an indication. So up to cha. So whatever the last letter before the cha is au. So ach means all the a to au.
Okay, so that means if somebody want to say these letters are included in the given context, they say ach.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And when we go to the textbook, when we see this, there are some exercises. You fill out the blank. A pratyahara is given. Maybe say at, and you have to fill out the blank. Then you have to fill out a, I, u, r, ye, o, I, au, ha, ya, va, ra. That is the answer, because it is the ith letter before that. Okay.
Mahoday,
have a question?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So when what about the dirgha when it says ach means, is it included the dirgha swaras?
Yes. Okay, because later on we will talk about this. The letter a here in this table includes all the 18 varieties of akara. We talked in the last class about a has 18 varieties. Okay, Hraswa, Dirgha, Pluta, Anudatta, Udatta, Swarita, that is the pitch difference. And then nasalized or non-nasalized, 3 by 3 by 2, 18 variations. So a here indicates all the 18 varieties. Okay. And suppose Panini, for certain grammatic rule, if he wants to say just to speak one length, say Hraswa, Dirgha or Pluta, then he has a different notation to indicate a single length. Okay. We'll come to that later when we are giving an introduction to Panini Sutras. Here now we are just explaining only the Maheshwara Sutras.
So Swami here, one quick question. This one. So basically using the it letter, hana, so we are referring to rows distinctly, right?
Yes. And there are some sutras, or the most of the sutras use the first na for the an. There's only one sutra which we will come to it when we are talking about Swara Sandhi. We'll talk about that one sutra which an means the second na. Okay.
Okay, that's cool. It's a very distinct role.
Yes.
Yep.
How is the sutra differentiated between the first and the second?
From the context, what it is used, because there are like other words that explain, and Panini didn't mention. Panini just went on writing his sutras. Okay, but the Bhāṣyakara and the kārakas explained which not to be taken. Okay, so Bhāṣyakaras, like whoever commented, this Vartikakara came about 100 years after Panini, and the Bhāṣyakara came about 50 years after. That means 150 years, about 150 years after Panini. So they studied this in detail and looked at the examples, and then they said, oh, this is what Panini meant. He didn't mean the first one, he meant the second one, or the other way for this sutra. Okay. So this is just like whoever attended this, for example, the Brahma Sutra classes. Just by reading the sutra, you cannot understand anything unless you go through the bhashya and commentary on the bhashya. The same way here also.
Mahodaya, question here. Arun, in the hal pratyahara you mentioned, ha appears twice.
Yeah. So
is there significance to that?
Yeah, there is a significance. I mentioned that because for some sutras, for example, suppose Panini wanted to make a sutra involving at, okay, or even the second an, and that involves the hakara. Now, if suppose the first ha is not there, there is only ha is in only one place, say at the end, then Panini cannot make that sutra. Okay. We will talk about this because, with the 14 sutras with 14 ith letters, and there is a possibility mathematically you can make about 281 abbreviations. Okay, like for example, you can make an, you can make in, you can make ak, you can make uk, you can make ach, you can make aich. So that way, mathematically, 281. But Panini, you had to use only about 41 or 42 of those in his all sutras. Other things are just mathematical possibility, but they didn't have practical use for him.
Is hal possible?
Yeah, hal is possible, but then it's not needed. Because in the whole abbreviation, if suppose only one letter is in the abbreviation, there is no need to make an abbreviation, right? So the second hal never used. So this ith letter for just ha is never used. Okay, whenever hal means that's this ha. Because you can imagine he doesn't save anything by saving hal, implying only the last ha. Because actually he's spending half a syllable more. He could just say ha instead of hal. But suppose he is saying shall, then he saves, because there are sutras shall. Then he's saying sha, sa, sa, and ha. Okay. So the last ha, the hal abbreviation using the only last ha is unnecessary because this is not abbreviation at all. Get the point?
Yes. The hal, the first ha, hal, then the ha is repeated twice.
Yeah. You can just take the only one of those.
Oh, okay.
In the list, suppose there is an exercise in the book, list out the letters in hal. Then your right answer will be ha, ya, vara, all the way up to sa.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, there was another question, I think.
Yeah, it was me, Jagdishji.
Yeah.
You said mathematically how many pratyaharas we can make?
There's more than 200. So I think precisely 281.
281. And how many Panini used?
Panini used different texts, gave different numbers. Some people say 41, some people say 42, some say 43. Different details.
Okay.
But most commonly you come across the number 41.
Okay. Thank you.
In all his 3,900 plus sutras, he had to use only about 41 and 42. Others were mathematical possibilities, but no practical use for him.
Thank you.
Okay. And for exercise, I can give you an exercise with a mathematical possibility also without using Panini having not used it. Just to understand the purpose of the it letters. Okay. So now for example, suppose Panini wanted to make a sutra, just referring to the nasals only. Then what abbreviation will he use? Just the nasals. He wants to make a sutra for only the 5 nasals.
Yum.
So he will make nyam. Okay, you can see the beauty of his assumptions. Okay, and for example, all the 4th of the class or the soft group Mahapranas, Vargiya Vyanjanas, Mridu Mahapranas.
Jash.
He will say Jash. Okay, so you can see that. That's why I say this, having this chart is very handy. Okay, and suppose he wants to talk about all the hard consonants, then what will he say?
Khal.
He will say kar. Okay,
Khar.
is soft, so he will say kar. Mahaprana ka up to sa. See, that is the beauty of using the it letters. And this is the starting blocks. This is where Panini started with all the sutras and everything. This is the basic concept. Any questions? And this has to be clear. And if you have any questions, you ask here, or you can put questions in the WhatsApp group or discuss among yourself. There are a lot of people who know this already.
I have one
Can you
question.
give an example of usage?
Chaya.
Yes.
Raise the hand.
Hard consonant will be kha to hal, right?
Yeah, ka to sa, because ha is not a hard consonant. You can see that up there, up above, it is a soft consonant.
Oh,
See my cursor?
yes, yeah.
Yes. Okay, that's what the reader I mentioned here is. You see the hard box. The box ends here. She left it ha as separately instead of creating one more row for just the second ha.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hard consonant starting with the ka pa cha ta ta ka pa sha sa sa. Okay. Any other questions? Because this has to be crystal clear before you
One
proceed.
question, Jagdish Mahoday. So I just want to clarify why the her, which is a soft consonant, is in the last line along with the hard consonant in that. Why did he put it there? I know it's the sibilants. Why did he group it like that? Just
there is a reason. As I mentioned, sometimes he had to make a sutra including sha, sa, sa, ha, for example. There is a sutra, or at least one sutra. I know there may be more sutras that goes with the pratyahara shal. Now, suppose Panini didn't put the ha here, he can't include ha in that sutra. He has to make an additional sutra for that. Whereas this saves time, you can accommodate that in one sutra. When we go to the textbook, and there I have a list of the 41 or 42 sutras, as 42 pratyaharas or abbreviations Panini used. I put that in there because we are going to go in a little more detail. There, when I list those things, you will see why ha had to be in 2 places.
Is a pratyahara is a sutra?
No, pratyahara means an abbreviation. Like, for example, ach is a pratyahara, an is a pratyahara.
Okay.
Okay. Pratyahara means it's just 1.5 syllables, but includes all the aksharas in between.
Okay.
So one more question. If we say a pratyahara again, that is a legal one mathematically?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
In is because in is a pratyahara. When we expand that, you get E and U.
Yeah, thank you.
And if you're referring to the second one, then you get E, U, R, R, E, O, up, all the way up to La.
Good. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, let's get all the
Yes,
questions here.
Jagdishji, one question. Besides the need for creating sutras using pratyahara, is there another reason why some what we would call consonants are belonging to vowels? You know, in this case, I, like that n. Is that also because it sounds like a vowel, or is that purely for the sake of pratyahara convenience that it is put?
That is for the na appearing two places, it is for pratyahara convenience.
Okay, thank you.
Namaste. The Google Drive has only volume 2 of the textbook, not volume 1.
Yes.
Okay.
The volume 2 is not necessary now, so that, because it is volume 1 we are following after. To avoid any confusion, for the time being, I put only volume 2. Because it is the first text we are going to start. Once we start into that, then I put volume 1.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Because the volume 2, which starts with the aksharas and pronunciations. So without pronunciation, we can't go much further. Okay.
I have a question. Is it possible, I mean, since there are 14 it letters,
right,
that means there are 14 pratyaharas, right?
No. There is 14 pratyaharas, and you can see, for example, if you say an, that means let's say first an. Okay. So it is one pratyahara. And you can also make in, eu only. So just with the first one it letter, you already made 2 sutras or 2 pratyaharas.
But here you have 14 basic as of now.
Right. 14 basic pratyahara, but pratyaharas, the starting letter can be anything, any letter before the it letter you are going to pick.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anywhere. Only thing is you cannot start with the it letter, but you have to end with the it letter. So the starting letter can be any of the letters in the Varnamala before that it letter. Generally, taking only the last one doesn't make sense because you are not saving anything. Like a pratyahara like un doesn't make any sense because in the whole group, there is only one member u. So why make it a group if it is just one member?
Jagdishaji, this is Rajesh. So if I have an un pratyahara, would it be a, e, u, or would it be all the way to la?
Yeah, that's what I mentioned. There is one sutra that uses the second na. And most of the other sutras or all the other sutras use the first nakara. First na it letter.
So by default, we can say that it's just the first 3 letters.
Yeah, the first 3 letters, except for one sutra.
Thank you, Jagdishaji.
Okay. Any other questions? Very, very valid questions.
Now,
I had a similar question to make pratyahara in which na to use. EU
no, it's not which na to use. It depends on what you want to convey. Which letters you want to put in that pratyahara. If you want to put the pratyahara EU all the way up to la, then the second in. Generally, we don't use Panini did. We are explaining why Panini did what he did.
But how would we know that which one to use?
Okay. Now,
if somebody says in, so which one to use?
Okay. If suppose I give you an exercise, explain the letters in, then I have to say whether I am referring to the first na or second na. Otherwise, you can always question me back which na, because there are 2 nas.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
But suppose I say expand un, then I expect you to take the second na.
Second na.
First na will not make sense because you are not doing any abbreviation with one letter.
Yeah.
Okay. So that kind of a common sense should be used.
Common sense is very uncommon.
Maybe now. In Panini's time, it was.
Okay.
Okay, and a lot of cases in explaining the sutras, we have to use the common sense also. Like, for example, there are some sutras, this ABCD is replaced by GHIJ. Then there will be 4 replacement. Which one to use for what? There is some common sense you have to use, which one to pick. Okay, so especially in the case on there are certain rules, but some of the things, there are rules, unsaid rules. That means it's a common sense. Unwritten rules. Okay.
Excuse me, one question.
Yeah.
My name is Chandramohan. Can we make a pratyahara using dirgha, an, or
no?
No.
No, you cannot, because it is not here in the list. You can check.
But you said like all the dirghas and all the 18 forms are included in that.
Now, suppose you want, or the Panini wanted to make a sutra that includes, say, long a only, and e and u. Okay, then he will say a and then in.
Oh, okay.
A and in. That means short I.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Jagdishji, one more question. What is the Chandrabindu above the la? Okay.
There is as I mentioned in the It letters, there's some a few sutras. Actually, there are 7 sutras defining the It letters later on. For Maheshwara Sutra, it's not. But later on, when we come to the further sandhi and pratyaya sections, then there are about 7 rules defining what a pratyahara or what a It letter is, the lakshanas or characteristics of It letters. Okay, so there he has not only these It letters, he is going to introduce some more It letters. Okay, and suppose he uses a vowel as an It letter, then that vowel will have a Chandrabindu. So in this la, for a specific reason, especially for one specific sutra, okay, which will come in Gunasandhi later on, one specific sutra where this a at the end, like Chandrabindu, which is nasalization of the a attached to the la. Okay, so it's a la. So that is necessary specifically one specific sutra. We will talk about that when we come to the Gunasandhi. This involves Gunasandhi referring to the r and l.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? Let's see what next. Yeah. So I'm going to spend as much time as I answer all the questions about the Maheshwara Sutra, because the concept of letters and the pratyaharas should be very clear. And when we go to the book, there are some exercises. So that will give you some hands-on experience of making your own pratyaharas, whether Panini used it or not, and also explaining the used pratyaharas.
Namaste. I missed a few classes owing to my travels, but if I go back to the Google Drive, look at the reference documents and go through all the class recordings, I should be up to date, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. And again, if you have any questions when you're listening to that, because you didn't have if you had a question, you didn't have a chance to ask that question, you can always post the question in the Google in the WhatsApp group, or you can send me a one-on-one WhatsApp message.
Okay, sure thing. Thank you so much.
Okay. No problem. Okay, there's not more questions, and we are coming back to this when we go to the textbook. We'll do this. Right now, we are just giving a flare of Panini's smartness in using this, what concepts he used. This is the basic Paninian concept. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. Now we are going to see some of the other features of the Saṁskṛta language. Okay. So most of the words, maybe about 95 to 97% of the words found in any Saṁskṛta literature, they started from a verb root. Even the nouns are derived from verb root. Okay. So verb root is the English equivalent. The Saṁskṛta of that is dhatu. Okay. Dhatu, like a basic element, basic brick of the language is dhatu. Okay. And just the verb roots are never used in the language. So they have to be converted into a usable word. A word is called padam. Okay, word in English, padam is the Saṁskṛta equivalent, a usable word in a sentence. And in any literature will be in the form of sentence. So before making the sentence, the verb has to be converted in verb root has to be converted into a word. The word can be either a verb or a noun. As I mentioned, all the nouns also are derived from dhatu. So this dhatu is a nickname is prakriti, like the base unit, natural prakriti, and whatever you derived from that is vikriti. Okay, something that is modified. So a dhatu will get some pratyaya added to it, and it will get converted into a pada. So there are certain pratyayas will convert a dhatu into a verb word, certain other pratyayas convert a dhatu into a noun word. Okay, and there is a slide later on which gives different possibilities of how we get different words. And how we get different words from starting from a dhatu, that is the whole thing in the volume 3 book. The whole, there's the title of the book is Panchavrittayaha, 5 derivation processes. So the whole of that book is how you get from a dhatu to a padam or word, from a verb root into a usable word. There are 5 different ways. And all those, the whole book is those 5 ways. Okay, Fran Aguilera raised the hand. What is the question?
Thank you. What is the meaning of mritika?
Okay, that is just, I give an example. That's not a grammar term. Okay. So suppose we have a dhatu, one dhatu. Say one dhatu or a verb root can react with multiple different pratyayas or suffixes, giving to multiple words. And the number of words that can be derived mathematically, possibility, is a huge number. It's there somewhere in this slide later on. We'll see that how many words can be derived from a dhatu. Okay. So a base element, dhatu, can give you multiple words after modified by certain suffixes. Illustration I gave is like in Vedanta classes, we always talk about mritika and ghata. Okay, clay and pots. The clay is one, but pots are many. By different pot making processes, you can get different types of ghatas. Okay, so mritika is like the dhatu, one dhatu. Ghataha, pots are many, like multiple pots. Okay, Ram K.
Yes. What's the difference between padam and shabdam?
Okay, shabda is sound, padam is word. Okay, in grammatically, when we talk about sometimes you use shabda also, but it has shabda has a very restrictive meaning, whereas pada has more generalized meaning. Okay, like for example, suppose he say Rama Shabda, then he's referring there Rama as a pratipadika, the word, the noun stem. Okay, when I say from Rama, that means a vibhaktis it to that, then it will become a pada. We might talk about that when we get into the vibhaktis and pratyayas in volume 1, our second textbook we go. Okay, then we will make out the difference between the verb root, pada, shabda, and all those things.
Okay,
But
thank you.
generally, they're interchangeably used. But when you are into the topic of grammar, they have a specific meaning. Okay? Natarajan has question?
Yes, just I think in this example, you are saying Mritika and Ghata, they both have the same root.
Yeah, they have the same root. That's what I'm saying. From one
Oh.
verb root, you can derive multiple words.
Okay. We don't have to get into it right now. I'm just, my curious mind wants to know what is the root. But
no, you will get into it because I have some lines for that. Okay, here it is. There are about 2200 dhatus, verb roots. This I mentioned earlier also. Each dhatu, that is say one clay, has a potential of generating about 104,000 with the different pratyaya combinations. Okay, so one dhatu can potentially generate 1,400 dhatus. This is potentially like the highest number. Some of the dhatus may not react with some of the pratyayas and upasargas, and so this just give you an idea how extensive it is. And this generally the answer to when people ask, okay, in the Oxford Dictionary, we have so many words. How many words are there in Sanskrita language, which is, the biggest dictionary? Then you can safely say that there are infinite number of words in Sanskrita language, because you can derive your own words and then combine, say, two nouns, especially when we make samāsas, you can combine more than one noun, making a new noun. So to say, there is no definite number. So you can safely say infinite, and you can explain how also. Okay. So this one, 104,000 plus, that too is not including the samāsa. Samāsa is, it's like a carbon chain in organic chemistry. There is no end. You can just make a long link. So samāsa is that. Okay.
Like a train, you can add the coaches.
Yes, you can add the coaches. But even in train, there may be a limit based on what the power of the engine to pull it. Okay, so how this all the padas or words come about? So they are part by prakriti, which is dhatu, and adding suffixes pratyaya, and dhatus can take up some prefixes also. There are about 22 prefixes, and some of the dhatus can take all 22, and most of the dhatus can take only a few of the 22. So even one dhatu can produce multiple dhatus by adding the pratyayas. And but by adding the upasargas, that the prefixes, upasargas come before, so that is why we can say in English as prefixes, whereas the other pratyayas come afterwards. So they are called suffixes or affixes. Okay, so that is the process of deriving words, adding upasarga to a dhatu, or not adding upasarga to dhatu, but adding a pratyaya for sure. So to convert any dhatu, which cannot be used in the sentence by itself, to convert any dhatu to useful form, you have to dress it up with a pratyaya. And the pratyayas, there's so many pratyayas, hundreds of pratyayas for specific purposes. They give a different meaning, and you will appreciate that when we go to book 3, as I mentioned, it is all about deriving the words, the whole book. Okay, we brought about the word samasa. What does samasa mean? Samasa is being together. asanam, being together. So words, here it is generally the nouns. They come together to make a new word with a new meaning. And samāsas are very important. The basic things we have to, to understand anything in Sanskrita, even for attending any of the classes, whether it's a Gita related or Vedānta related. The couple of things are very important, even if you are not going to too much depth, is one is pronunciation, the second is sandhi, and the third is samasa. Other things you can manage even without going to a lot of details, but these three things are important. So for just a couple of minutes, let's give you a flair of what samasa is. Okay, like samasa is putting or the throwing the words, nouns together to make a new noun. And a lot of people in the class will have come across the prakarana grantha called Advaita Makaranda. That is by a poet by name Lakshmidhara Kavi, Advaita Makaranda. And then in that, generally all these granthas start with the prayer verse. There he is praying for his deity. So he starts with Kataksha Kirana Chanta Naman Mohabdaye Namaha. So that long word, this whole thing here, in the first underlined thing, the whole thing is one word. Okay, connected by samasa. So the one word has so many nouns connected by means of samasa. A new word is created. You can see it's a long chain by connecting different words. Now let's see some of those nouns in that will make sense. Kata is one. The first one is kata, aksha, kirana, achanta, namat, mohabdi. So kata, aksha, kirana, achanta, namat, moha, abdi. So 7 nouns are combined in a meaningful way to generate this one long word with its own specific meaning. Okay, maybe we'll stop here and we'll elaborate a little more than that, just to give you a flair of the utility and the beauty of samasa. And anybody can make a samasa. Once you know what the meaning you wanted to convey with the samasa, anybody can make a samasa. It's not like Panini Sutras, which only Panini could make. The samasas anybody could make as long as you know what you're doing.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So if we, instead of this compound word,
yeah,
if we mention the separate words that you mentioned,
yeah,
would the combined meaning be different from what you mentioned?
No, that depends on how you explain. So any samasa has an explanatory sentence. So the meaning you derive from a compound depends on the explanatory sentence. And for this word with the 7, you might need a small paragraph to explain it in English, the right meaning. And we will do that in the next class.
No. My question is, the author, instead of combining all the 7 nouns together to form a word, if he had mentioned the 7 nouns separately, would the meaning of that sentence be completely different from the word here?
No, if the same poet explains, he will explain to convey the same thing. But instead of this number of letters, it might go 3 or 4 lines in the prose form.
Okay.
And you will realize that when we will explain this, and you will understand it better when we get into the samasa topic towards the end of the class, end of the course. Okay, because samasas are in book 3 towards the end of the course.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go back to the prayers. Let's Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaः, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet, asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om purnamadah purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate, purnasya purnamadaya purnamevavashishyate. Om shanti shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Shubharatri.
Thank you, Acharya ji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jagdish ji.
Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you.
Thank you, Acharya ji.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.